In this session, we are going to look at personal and home uses of a computer. Before even we start looking at this, I want to ask you, can you think of the different uses of computers or applications of computers, or areas, different fields, different uses of computers in different fields? Think of them, and we are going to have a discussion in our discussion forum on Moodle. I have a few listed here, but it may not be as detailed as the discussion we can have in the forum. So I really want us to take this discussion to forum. We're just going to look at a few examples here, but we shall be able to take this to our forum. Computers allow people with disabilities to do normal activities such as shopping online. And this shopping online is a whole topic of discussion of its own, and we are going to engage into this at some point. That falls under what we call e-commerce, which is the same as electronic commerce. We also have playing games with other people, working from home, entertainment such as listening to music, watching videos, etc. Enable communication through the use of electronic mails or emails and chats. In businesses, computers allow companies to keep large amount of information at hand in what we call the database. And we know this information is very, very important for an organization or to an organization. Organizations that are striving well, that are doing well business-wise, are actually doing that based on the information that they keep. Organizations that keep information has a good record of performing well, because they use this information for business decision making. They don't operate based on instincts or intuitions or emotions. They make logical decisions based on the information that has been gathered, analyzed, and then come up with a decision. An example, let's say in 2023, Afro got 1,500 students. Then the next year, they got 2,000 students. Then the next year, they got 1,000 students. They can study this information to understand why they were going up, getting the students. Then at some point, they started dropping down. This information kept can actually help them make a decision on what direction to take to ensure that the number of students keeps on increasing. In business, we still make ordering. It also makes ordering and tracking of resources quicker and easier. It allows people to have meetings from different locations on Zoom, Google Meet, and so on and so forth. Skype, name it. It helps in information management, which eases the process of decision making, like I said earlier. Allow people across the world to communicate easily for communication purposes, basically. Like I said earlier, I'm just going to be tackling this briefly, but we're going to have a whole discussion on this topic, the uses of computers. Then in education, of course, it allows the internet allows access to hundreds and thousands of online resources or research materials. Allow colleagues to correspond quickly about ongoing research. Eases the process of analyzing research data. So basically, those are just a few. We have just looked at a few areas when it comes to uses of computers, but in our discussion we are going to look at uses of computers in hospitals, in transportation, in businesses, that is in banking, in schools, in churches, in almost every area that we can look at. So I look forward to having that discussion with you. Parts of a computer system. Computer systems have 4 major parts. We have the hardware, we have the software, we have the data, and then we have the users. Remember, please do not mix this with parts of a computer. Parts of a computer is different. Parts of a computer system is different. Just like when they are talking of a human system, a system in the human body is different from when we are talking about parts of the body. Parts of the body here, we have the head, we have the nose, we have the arms, we have, name them. But when we are talking about system become complex than just naming the parts. When you talk of the respiratory system, you're going to talk of the nose, you're going to talk of the lungs, and so on and so forth. It's a system. Digestive system, you talk about the different parts that makes up the digestive system in the human body. And that is the same thing when it comes to parts of a computer system. Let's look at computer hardware. Computer hardware consists of electronic devices, the parts of the computer that you can see and touch. In other words, these are tangible parts of a computer. The term device refers to any piece of hardware used by the computer, such as keyboard, monitor, modem, mouse, etc. These are mechanical devices that makes up the computer. And examples, we have them here. We have the displays, where we have the monitor or LED screens, liquid crystal display screens. We have the system unit, what most people call CPU, the system unit, that big case which houses everything. It's known as the system unit, not the CPU. The CPU is just a component inside the system unit. Then we have the floppy disk, we have the CD-ROM drive, we have the hard disk drive, we have the keyboard, we have the mouse. The beauty of this is that these are components that we shall be able to see and touch in real life. We have other hardware components. We have the DVD drive, we have the CD writer, we have the sound card and speakers, we have the modems and printers. Then we also have another key term to look at, which is a peripheral device. What is a peripheral device? It's a designated equipment that might be added to the computer system to enhance its functionality. Any hardware component that you had added to your computer, which is not originally part of your computer, but because you want to get a specific functionality from your computer, or you want to enhance its functionality, you add to it this device, it becomes a peripheral device. And examples, we have printers. You can actually have your computer without a printer and it's still a computer. But if you want to be able to print, you add to it a printer. The printer becomes the peripheral device. You want to put pictures into your computer, you use a camera, digital camera. The digital camera becomes the peripheral device. You want to scan your documents into your computer, then the scanner becomes the peripheral device. You want to play video games, whereby you can use a joystick for directing motions or controlling directions, then the joystick becomes your peripheral device. Then we also have the computer software has the second part. Is a set of instructions that makes the computer perform tasks. The software is the part of the computer you cannot touch, but is very, very important. These are sets of instructions that tells a computer what to do and how to do it. This is the definition that I expect from you if asked. But do not tell me the computer software is the part of the computer you cannot touch. No. That is very, very basic definition. It's not for a campus student. The software is the program that makes the computer run, controls everything that the computer does. For any computer to function, it needs to have the softwares installed. Yes, when you buy your computer, not these second-hand computers that we buy on the streets of Kampala Road, which they say UK use, then you go Dubai use, then you go and buy when it's having everything. In most cases, when you're buying a computer that has never been used before, you buy it without any software in it. The only software that you get with it is what we call a firmware, which comes with your computer, which is put in it by the manufacturer of your computer for basic programming of your computer. But things like the operating system and application softwares, you have to install them by yourself, and that is what is going to enable you use your computer. Then we also have what you call the data or data, depending on which primary school you went to. Data consists of raw facts which the computer can manipulate and process into information that is useful to people. And I told you earlier, you can still define it as sets of instructions. You can define data as collection of raw facts. I have no problem with that definition. It may be simple, but it's still clear. Computerized data is reduced to digits, meaning that it has been reduced to digits or numbers. And that is what we talked about earlier, the binary base, the zeros and ones, if you've been keeping track. The computer stores and reads all the data as numbers. Which numbers we looked at earlier? I don't know if that page is still there. Yes, these numbers that you're seeing here. If I put here A, you're going to see that is A. If I put B, C, D, E, F. Now, according to the computer, this is A, B, C, D, E, F, A. Let me see. A, B, C, D, E, F. But then, okay, I understand now why it's many. The space between and that space itself is represented by the zeros in an octet manner. So that's what was confusing. Yes, this is it. A, B, C, D, E, F. A, B, C, D, E, F. The zeros, the space itself is catered for in the same manner of zeros in an octet series. They are 8, 8, 8, 8, 8. And that's what we call octet. Okay, having understood or established that, let's continue. Then we also have users. People who use the computer, like you and me. We are part of the computer system as well. Then we are going to look at essential computer hardware. Computer hardware are devices. Hardware devices fall into one of the 4 major categories. We have the processor, we have the memory, we have the input and output, then we have the storage. At this point, these are familiar terms. It shouldn't be something new for us now. Then we have the processing devices. The procedure that transforms raw data into useful information is called processing. I'm not going to overemphasize on this slide because I've talked about it before. The processor is like the brain of the computer. It organizes and carries out instructions either from the user or the software. Manipulates the data. Most computers have several processors. That's why you'll hear things like i3, dual core, i5, i7, and so on and so forth rather. Central processing unit is referred to as CPU. Sometimes it can also be called just computer processor or just processor. Then we also have the memory. Memory is made up of one or more sets of chip that stores the data, program instruction either temporarily or permanently. Memory is divided into two types. We have the random access memory that holds the data and program instruction temporarily while the CPU is working with them. I explained this earlier. RAM is volatile, meaning it holds the data only when the computer is powered on. When the power is off, the RAM's content is lost. I explained this earlier. The random in the RAM implies that any portion of the RAM can be accessed at any time. This helps to make it run faster. More RAM results in a faster system. Yes, I'm going to explain what this means in a few. Then we have the different conversions of the memory that you're seeing on the screen here. We have kilobytes, we have megabytes, we have gigabytes, we have terabytes, and the units of conversions are written on the right hand sides, as you can see. Then they are also showing us the position of the RAM on the motherboard. What is a motherboard? A motherboard is a point of attachment of every hardware component of a computer, be it part of the computer or a peripheral device. They are